What is up, guys? I'm Get Flanked. Welcome to another episode of The Pro and the Potato. Today I'm joined by a special guest, the one, the only KiXSTAR. What's going on, KiXSTAR?
It's going well. It's going well, Flank. I'm just hanging out, chilling, talking to you, and all that fun stuff.
On behalf of me, all my subscribers, the viewers, thanks a lot for taking the time to sit down and have a conversation here with us. I know you're extremely busy, and so many people requested to have you on the show, so the fact that you're taking the time to do this means a
It's cool,
lot.
man.
And
We're good.
I wanted just to have you talk about your history with the Pro League here, and I know you've been in a couple different roles with the Pro League. So, would you mind just kind of going over that real quick?
Yeah, sure. You're right. I've been pretty much all over the place. I haven't done coaching yet, but anyway. So it started out. I picked up this game like right out of launch. I joined a team early on. I practiced with that team. I joined the next better team. The next better team kept going up the ladder. I found myself eventually on Lost in Translation, otherwise known as Lit. And we got picked up by the organization Orbit GG just as the Pro League started. Then I played through Season 1 and Season 2 of the first year, of course. And then about half, like I'd say a third of Season 3 of the first year with Orbit GG. And then we were like called Orgless for a bit. But that was the team I played for. We never won anything. We got third and then second, but we never actually won. And then I left that team due to some, basically just toxicity and just not wanting to deal with it anymore. And then before I could join another team, I was intercepted by Panky, great guy, cool guy. He used to be the head commentator for Rainbow Six. He's since moved on, of course, but he approached me in my stream and he's like, "Hey, you want to be a commentator?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Because I figured, it should just be like for a season, right? Just the season. Why not? Because I was like, I can't join another team in the middle of season 3. Got to wait till the season's over. So I may as well cast it. But then after I finished casting that season, they kept asking me to come back. They're like, "Hey, you want to do the Invitational?" I'm like, okay. And they're like, "Hey, you want to do this whole next year?" And I'm like, okay. So I was like, I just keep accepting and accepting, and look, here we are. And yeah, now we're in the middle of year 2, season 2. We're about to cap it out with that Gamescom final, and still going strong as a caster.
Well, a year ago, if I would have said that you would be casting, would you have believed
Fuck
me?
no.
That's crazy
Fuck
how
no.
how things can change like
This
that.
isn't. I didn't like plan on doing this. I was just like, I thought I would just keep playing and playing and playing. Just trying to be on the forefront of competition and boots on the ground. But oh look, here I am now, hovering over everyone, seeing, like in the I get to see what all the different teams are doing now instead of being in my own little world, sort of a sense of the words.
Sure. Well, you mentioned Gamescom there and the season 2 finals, and we're about a week out from that right now, from that getting started. And on the screen right now, for the viewers there, I have the bracket. And just wanted to talk about the matchup that I'm really the most excited about, which is Excellence versus Penta. And Excellence was kind of the surprise for North America. They went through this season, didn't drop a single match. If correct me if I'm wrong there, but definitely surprised me. I don't know. I think a lot of people would say that as well. And then Penta is our season 1 champions, so I'm excited to see that. What do you think about that matchup?
All season 1 champions, man. They've won every single season 1. Let's go. You
Yeah.
see year 1 and year 2. Anyway, um, okay, so Penta has the edge, 100%, and I'll tell you why. Excellence is, for the most part, they have I think a couple of their players have experience at LAN, but for the most part, they are fresh. There's even some old Xbox players on that team. Like I think there's one Xbox player on that team who's just made the transition, and they don't have nearly as much experience as any of the individual players on Penta as a whole. And they did really knock North America out of the park. I 100% agree. But online, very different from LAN, and LAN is where experience matters the most. So Penta's going to have a huge, tremendous edge going into that match. But I think Excellence can win it. I think they have the potential. They definitely have the skill. I think one thing cool about Excellence is they seem to be really good at reducing themselves to their baser instincts, not in an insulting way there. They could clearly have coordination and synergy, but I mean, like, when they really need to get past a blockade an issue strategically, they can just kind of whack their face against it, and the headbutt works. It works for them. And I think that might trip up Penta a little bit. But honestly, again, when it comes to like Penta's got that experience, they're going to be able to recover, get their balance, and I think they'll get the win, probably 2-1. Going to overtime on every map. Of course, predictions have a tendency to fall flat, and this is something to remember. A lot of teams, when they're coming off their last Pro League match in any season, the approximate 3 weeks to a month between the end of the season and the LAN event, the finals, a lot of teams have a tendency to transform themselves. Teams like Excellence and Penta both are going to be putting in tremendous amounts of work in that span of time to try and prepare themselves, especially both of them. I mean, like, they've got to be thinking to themselves, we're some of the top teams coming out of our region. We really need to prep for that other guy because, I mean, look at them. They did so great, Excellence beating out VG. Penta is going to be taking them seriously. So there will be plenty of practice put in on both ends, and I expect to see totally separate teams from what we saw from them previously both ends.
That is a long time. I mean, a lot can happen in that time. Now,
exactly.
You mentioned Excellence. I think you said like the headbutt works for them as far as just charging straight forward. And we're with Penta, I think, and we had Fabian on here. We talked to him. One thing that jumps out to me with Penta has always been their mid-round adjustments and how they can kind of adjust on the fly. So is that like a completely different styles with those teams? Is that what you're getting at there?
No, not really. I think Penta plays the kind of style as who's that boxer that's like like the quote unquote greatest all time. Is about to do the whole money fight.
Floyd Mayweather.
Penta has a Floyd Mayweather sort of game style. Like they're very calculated. They're not strategic per se. They just have great synergy, and they're able to recover and throw the counters that are oh so necessary at the right moment. Okay, so let me explain what I think about that. Remember when I said Excellence is great at just putting the headbutt in and forcing things out? Well, Penta's used to that. They're gonna want that to happen because they're gonna lose. Yeah, they'll lose a round off of it, but as soon as it starts happening, they're gonna be able to. It'll be like, hey guys, they're just rushing in here. They're getting blitzkriegi. They're getting crazy. So let's just play a little bit more conservative and wait for those pushes. Wait for the unexpected nature of their attack, and they're gonna be able to throw a counter at it. So as while Excellence has the potential to be very unexpected. And they also have the potential, at the same time, just being crazy, like and going for the headbutt and just going straight in. They can also be strategic and slow. They've got a good mixed bag. So does Penta, and more importantly, Penta can recover. Penta always recovers. At least that's what we've seen from them in the last season. That's what we've seen from them. I guess in the last 2 seasons, if you count the first season this year, of course. Now, also Penta. From their history, if you look further back, they have a lot of tendency to really change and not in a good way. Like, oh my God, what happened to Penta way? So, it could be that at this LAN we see Penta completely flop. But I really hope that's not the case. I would like to see them maintain their status as, one of the titans of our scene. We'll have to wait and find out, of course. But if they do come into this matchup, as what we've seen from them in the past, I think that Excellence is going to get some good rounds in there, but ultimately Penta will prevail.
One of the things you mentioned there as a possible weakness of Excellence is lack of LAN experience. And
huge.
We had Sky has talked a little bit about how different the game is on LAN compared to online. Yeah. Can you talk about that at all as far as the different atmosphere and just how the game plays differently?
Well, of course, as you know, Siege has a tremendous amount of peekers advantage, whether it is at LAN or online. And I remember when I was first going to my LAN event, or my very first LAN event, which was in Cologne, Germany, similar to this one, which is kind of funky, but it was at the ESL studio in Cologne, Germany. And I was actually kind of like curious. I was genuinely curious. I was like, is there going to be peekers advantage on LAN? Because there's so much of it, online. And yes, it still very much exists. Oh gosh, it's very prevalent. It does not change the game style very much. It's less, of course, but it still exists. And I think that the less peekers advantage isn't going to really affect them too much, but it's going to trip them up. Now you have to admit it is going to trip them up. And the fact that they're going up against Penta in their first bracket match does not bode well for them. Because you ideally when you're tricked up, you want to be going up against a team that's maybe not, one of the best coming out of the any other region. Maybe like the pushover team would be a little bit more ideal because they're going to need time to get their bearings. And at LAN events, of course, they do have practice matches. You're given as a team, I think you're given like a day ahead of time, to really grind out on LAN and try to get used to it. But they're still, it's still going to be weird for them, and they're going to need to get used to it really fast going up against Penta.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I'm really excited. Obviously, I have a soft spot for NA. It's I live in America, so I'm going to be rooting for the NA teams. But
yeah, go NA.
I love watching Penta as well.
Especially,
I really respect their gameplay.
Especially after everyone getting first rounded at the last LAN.
Yeah.
We definitely need a win in there, and Excellence is a team that if they can get past their inexperience and the shell shock they're going to undergo going on to LAN for some of them the first time, then I do think they will have a chance at winning the event overall.
Okay, well, I wanted to move on because what we've done in this series in the previous episodes is, the pro that we've had on, we've covered a clip that they've made in Pro League and had them talk about it. And I wanted to cover one of the most famous Rainbow Six Siege clips probably ever, and that is your 8-second ace. And I'm going to play that clip right now, and then we'll come back and have you talk about it.
Friendly, last operator.
Okay. Behind you.
Okay, get that.
Oh my
God!
Op 4 eliminated. Friendly mission successful.
What the fuck, KiXSTAR? Oh my god.
Okay, so take me through that insane play, man. What were you thinking there? What's going on there?
Well, I was thinking, sure, the round's over, but I mean, I may as well just go try, right? So I ran myself down the stairs, and the main thing that I was using as an individual in this circumstance was just supreme confidence. It's just like, hey, I can hit shots, and I'll just check every single angle as I come down these stairs. I saw the Rook. I'm like, hey, look at that, free kill. So I got the free kill onto the Rook. Then I think it was the Valkyrie. She was just right down the hall. As soon as I looked up after knifing the Rook, oh, look at that, right in front of me, free kill, right? So I get that kill, and then I turn around, and I'm like, okay, there's 3 left, and I only have a couple bullets left in my rifle. I don't see anyone on the luggage container to my left as I look towards the stairs, so I'm going to peek onto stairs and see if there's anyone there following me. I peek around, I see the Jaeger, I kill him with the last 3 bullets, I think, in my magazine, and then I'm like, okay, switch to pistol, establish dominance on close angle by luggage. I find I think it was the Doc, I believe, or something like that, playing on the close angle to my left. I just go for the spam on the headline. I'm like, okay, may as well go all in. I've got 20 bullets in this magazine. I definitely could use half on this guy. I get rid of him. I cross over to where he was because I know it's now a safe angle where I very likely don't have to expect someone. I do check it. There's no one there. And then I'm like, okay, we're possibilities. Well, he's not in luggage. I can tell. And because I've cleared both of the angles, and I didn't check the top of stairs, so he's probably coming from stairs. So I come around the corner. I use everything I can to give myself the advantage on the peak. Look, there's a smoke standing on the stairs. I'm like, okay. Now, time kind of slowed down at this point because I realized it was like, I either kill this guy or it was a nice try. I don't want a nice try. I wanted to win. And I was confident I could hit the headshot. I did, and that was that. And then afterwards, it was like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did that.
So, be honest. Any other operator other than Ash, do you think you could have pulled that off?
Havanna would have been much easier.
Because of the bearing? Secondary?
Because of the bearing,
pistol?
absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, would have made it so much easier. I think no. Okay, in theory, yes, but I'm never gonna know because I'm not gonna get back into that situation. Ultimately, though, I think no. I think the reasoning behind that being something exclusive to a 3-speed with a good gun is pretty much just being able to stay one step ahead of everyone else.
Sure.
If it weren't for the fact that I were a 3-speed, I would have been, lugging around. Like I could have done it with a sledge or, arguably any 2-speed really, but it wouldn't have been quite as I'm one step ahead of you. If you look back on that clip, there's a lot of circumstances in which I utilize peeker's advantage to the fullest. The peek onto the Jaeger and the peek onto the smoke in particular on those stairs is situations whereby the peeker's advantage is helping me a tremendous amount. The Rook, Valkyrie, and Doc kill, I believe that's what the operators are. Those are all kind of just fights, right? Not necessarily peeker's advantage, just fights. But, those 2 guys on stairs, absolutely 3-speed helped me a tremendous amount. Like, overall, the clip is a lot of luck. Sure, I had the skill to be able to execute it, but I also got pretty lucky. There's a lot of factors that could have gone wrong there. If after I killed the Doc, the smoke had been holding right behind that Doc, on close luggage, waiting for me to come around the corner with his SMG-11 or shotgun just right up against it, I would have probably died to that guy. I could have, in theory, hit the shot and killed him and kept it going, but it would have been much more difficult. A lot of factors did line up.
Well, you mentioned luck there, and I think that anytime you pull out a 1v5, even a 1v4 in some of those situations, there is a certain aspect of luck, but you also have to put yourself in the situation to take advantage of enemy mistakes and luck,
right?
And you obviously did that. Now, for like the average gamer, now that's an awesome clip there, and I'm not saying, tell me how the average gamer can do that exact same clip, but when they're in those 1v3s, 1v4s, 1v5s, what can they take from that you think will help them in their everyday game?
Have confidence in yourself. Absolutely, that's like the main thing. Have confidence in yourself. My other piece of advice is join a team. Join a team because in that situation, all I remember was angles, 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 angles. And that's something that I learned from being on a team, is just to play the angles, just to know where it is the enemy can come from, to clear every single angle you possibly can, and just to kind of challenge things. So like when I think back about it, like if you remember, I was reciting what I was doing in my head. It was just me thinking about, okay, they can be here, they can't be here, 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 or here. So I will peek with the utmost aggression and confidence anywhere they can be. Anywhere they can be. There were only, like, in that situation, there are technically only 3 real places they can be, right? There's left side luggage, right side luggage, and stairs, right? So I cleared left side luggage, I cleared right side luggage, and then it was just down to stairs. Like, angles, angles, angles. And angles are something you learn by being on a team and fulfilling your role.
Okay. I think to explain how that clip would have gone for me, I would have gotten the first kill, I would have reloaded, and then I would have died while I was reloading. And that's one thing that I'm working on as I'm...
You have 30 bullets in your main. You have 20 bullets in your secondary in this circumstance. You only need 1 bullet to kill anybody. That's something you have to remember.
Yes.
1 bullet. Only takes 1 bullet. I had a tweet recently where I got a one-shot headshot with a pistol. And I said it only takes 1 bullet. The intention was to have a little bit of a deeper meaning there. It only, in every situation, takes 1 bullet. And yes, I know Blackbeard, and that is why Blackbeard will forever be, in my opinion, one of the things that plagues this game more than anything else, including picker's advantage, lag compensation, fucking hit registration.
Just like what you're referring to is the fact that he's the exception to the 1 bullet.
Yeah, and he's the only one. Even if his shield, just to go on a little bit of a tangent here, even if his shield only blocked a single bullet, it would still be overpowered. Still. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but that is the case. He is fundamentally, deep down at the core, flawed because he ruins the very concept of this game and the fluidity of it.
So the fact that you see him highly picked in Pro League is more of a necessary evil. I mean, we talked to Laxon.
I mean, the reason he's picked so highly in Pro League is because he's broken right now. I don't know if you know this, but after his shield breaks, there's a animation where it shatters, right? You know that
Right,
animation?
right.
You can see the glass falling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that animation lasts all of like half of a second, but in that half of a second, it blocks an infinitesimal amount of damage. An infinite amount of damage. So if you had 5 people shooting at them, and I'll get you a clip that you can show on stream about this later, or on the video later. If you had 5 people shooting at a shield after it broke during that animation, none of those bullets would hit him in the face, even though the shield was broken technically. That's why he's got such a high pick rate, because he's not just blocking the 3 bullets with the 80 HP. He's blocking every bullet after that for like half a second. And that's huge. I know a lot of you saying, "Oh, it's half a second, KiXSTAR. That doesn't matter." Yeah, it does. That means everything in a fight.
Yeah. Especially, well, like you said, when one bullet can kill, half a second is an eternity. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, so talking about the game and Blackbeard
By the
there.
way,
Oh, yep.
just used infinitesimal completely wrongly.
Hey, I think
The
we'll overlook
opposite
that.
of what I was trying to say. Infinite. Anyway, Blackbeard.
So moving on from Blackbeard, talking a little bit about the game in general. What are your thoughts on Operation Health? We're coming to the end of it. We're going to be approaching the new season. Anything you want to talk about as far as Operation Health? Was it good for the game? Did it do anything?
Okay, so Operation Health wasn't a flop necessarily, and I think I'm a big supporter of the Ubisoft guys. I really like them. They're cool dudes. I believe they have a passion for their game, and that's really important. Operation Health didn't fix anything I cared about, but there are things on the horizon. There are things on the horizon that I am patiently waiting for that are going to be the solutions to the problem. And what Operation Health did, and I think it's all behind the scenes, and no one can really see this, and this is really important, is that it laid down the groundwork for the developers to give us that change, to usher in what we're all waiting for, like the lighting fix, the new servers, and all that nonsense. Operation Health was them laying down the groundwork for that, putting in the coding, and trying to fix up the engine somewhat. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that the engine this game is built on is fucking garbage. Like trash.
Assassin's Creed engine, isn't it?
It's Assassin's Creed mixed with something else. It's just fucking awful. And the developers, they aren't dragging their feet. They're just dealing with an engine that's a piece of crap. And I understand why it takes them so long to make change, instigate change. It's because of that so slow development cycle, and it's forgivable, And Operation Health was them trying to make it easier for themselves. At least I think that's what it is. I am not speaking off of some hidden information that I have been given by the Ubisoft guys. I'm just summarizing my thoughts on the matter because I know these guys don't slouch. And I know they want to fix their game. I've actually gotten to talk to them about this. They're very passionate. So I think Operation Health, while disappointing, and while I don't want to play this game right now, I definitely don't want to play Siege right now. At the same time, I'm very confident in the future. I think they'll fix things.
Well, you mentioned things that matter to you weren't necessarily fixed during Operation Health. What are those things that you think really matter to you? What are those things?
Game balance, things like Blackbeard. Glaz is garbage right now, but that's because his shots don't register. And honestly, I'd like it to stay that way. Fuck Glaz. Seeing through smokes, that's broken as shit. It's the same thing as blocking headshots.
Completely agree.
Servers, of course, but I don't think the servers are going to fix everything, to be honest with you. I think that really is just kind of people are pinning their hopes onto that because they want to find a solution to these problems, and it's been teased that the servers are a thing, and people know they're coming, so they're trying to say this will fix it all. They're not going to, but that is something I would like to see. The new servers, netcode overall, which is not inherent to new servers, by the way. Hit registration being as garbage as it is right now. Balance changes. What else? Lighting. Oh, God. the lighting is fucking trash right now. Like, and it always has been. It's gotten better. You know, it's gotten better, of course. But of course, they did tease us with those screenshots that seem to have perfect lighting.
Yes.
You know, like absolutely perfect. Like you can see people all the time.
Yeah.
And the community is all like, "Oh, spawn peekers, spawn peekers. Oh no, spawn peekers. Shut the fuck up." Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you bitch about spawn peekers, it's because you don't know how to play the fucking game. Go learn. Fuck you. Fuck you for trying to ruin the game.
Well,
Thank you for fixing the lighting, by the way.
I mean, okay, one thing, and you mentioned something else I want to get to, but what about the Havanna Glitch? That was addressed, not perfect, but my understanding is that it's fixed. It's better than it used to be, and that was a big thing for Pro League. Like,
by the way, hang on, I gotta cut you off there. Just to elaborate on my thoughts on the people bitching about spawn peekers.
Yes.
I'm not talking about instant spawn kills. Those are atrocious. I'm talking about just, normal ass spawn kills, right? On the note of the Havanna Glitch, what you're talking about, it was a problem for a long time. I think they fixed it, didn't they?
Yeah. That's the patch notes basically say that they did fix it, and they went into a great detail about why it was such a hard thing to fix.
Right.
But I have heard some reports that it's still not perfect. I don't know that that's necessarily the same glitch that we're talking about, but I haven't seen any restarts. But that was a big thing because they would have to restart rounds in Pro League. I thought that was something that I couldn't take Pro League completely serious as long as there was a core operator with a high pick rate that had a glitch like that.
Yeah,
so I think that's a big thing that we got at Operation Health, just to try to, bring the tide back the other way. But I mean, as far as what you were mentioning there with spawn peekers, and I completely agree with you that if you have a chance to defend yourself, then spawn peeking is it's your own fault if you get spawn peeked.
When a defender looks outside and they're not doing like an instant, spawn kill, because that shit's just wrong. If they're just looking outside waiting for you to come around a corner, they are putting themselves at the disadvantage. They are taking the risk. You are in the position to get a swift, easy kill if you actually put in the effort. It's on you to know that someone's going to spawn peek where you are. One of the easiest ways to do this, and there's been people like King George has even made videos about this, is stick a drone in front of where you're spawning, and between where you're spawning in the building, point the drone at the building during the prep phase, then wait for any of the windows to be breaking in the prep phase, even up to the last couple seconds. If none of them do, great. Then utilize your drone, move from piece of cover to piece of cover until you eventually get to the building, and just make sure, be very cautious on your approach using your drone constantly to check for spawn peek possibilities. It's on you as an attacker. And if someone does try to spawn peek you, it's a free kill, dude. Take it.
So the thing that jumps out to me when talking about this is I feel like what you just mentioned there, you're absolutely right about. But that requires time and knowledge.
Yeah, but
and
the round
I feel like
3 minutes, man.
No, I'm saying time in game. You know what I mean? So let's picture the person who buys this game today, steps into casual, and they get paired up with somebody who has, 10 days played in the game, knows every spawn peek, and is using Jaeger with Acog, and knows the perfect spawn peak. So they spawn, they get headshot instantly, or as soon as they come around a corner, they die. How much fun do you think they're having playing the game?
Hey, Flank, buddy, friendo, what is a skill ceiling?
Exactly. I completely agree with you. That's what makes this game so awesome. There is a skill ceiling. This isn't an easy to swallow Call of Duty game that everybody gets a trophy. It is earn your stripes the hard way and develop a deep passion and love for this game.
Yeah,
and that's what it's
exactly
all about.
it. That's a really easy answer. It just comes down to put in the fucking work, man. Put in the work or bitch out. I don't care which. I'm gonna keep playing the game, right? I don't even want to play it right now, and I still play it, and I've put in my work. I've learned my lessons, and I will continue to do so because I refuse to just Yeah, no, on something so trivial as spawn peeking, that's just small. Like it's just small. I mean, like I even know the solution to beating a Blackbeard most of the time. You know, we want to know what it is?
What's that?
Fucking drop shot him. Drop shot and aim for the torso. Don't challenge him when he's holding a fucking lame ass angle on a window. You know, using it so you can only see his head and he's got a shield in front of that. Don't challenge that. Of course, there's an inherent problem with that. That really disrupts the flow of gameplay. As I talked about earlier, that is fundamentally fucking flawed. But I know how to deal with the Blackbeard. I just hate that it's a thing that you need to do. You know? That I resent. And I could see where people like, okay, just take a second. I get why people would associate that with spawn peeking. But the thing is again, it is less actually a problem as it is you getting the advantage. When someone's spawn peeking you, they put themselves at risk. You get the free kill. It's such an easy kill. Like if someone's putting themselves in a window or a door, they want you to kill them, man. Like it's not a good idea. Spawn peeking is a bad idea. I don't know why people bitch about it. Well, you know, as opposed to Blackbeard on the other hand, who like Blackbeard's got a shield in front of his face. You know, you can't fucking challenge that.
Well, I mean, along the lines of the spawn peeking, and the latest controversy and rumors in the community is that Bandit and Jaeger are going to lose their ACOGs, which I think personally is just a rumor, but it's interesting to talk about. I mean, that would certainly change some things. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
So, okay, I don't know if they're going to remove those ACOGs, right? And the reason I wouldn't think it would happen is because it logically doesn't make any fucking sense balance-wise. It is just it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, because all right, we remove the ACOGs from Bandit and Jaeger. Then who has ACOGs? Only 3 armors. And I know a lot of people don't think about this on a regular basis, but it's something that it plagues me daily. Is that the only people who aren't 3 armors that have ACOGs on defense right now are Bandit and Jaeger. You guessed it. The only 2-speed we've ever had that has had an ACOG was fucking Bandit, and his is, or sorry, not Bandit, excuse me, Smoke, and his is gone. It got removed ages ago. It was on the SMG-11. I know you remember.
Yep.
And yeah, now after he lost his, no more 2-speeds with ACOGs. A lot of the reason people play the 3-speeds on defense with ACOGs isn't necessarily because all they can play is fucking 3-speeds. It's because they don't want to play an anchor to get an ACOG on defense. And that's what, if they were to remove those ACOGs, that's what we would have. You either play a fucking anchor, and I mean like a fucking anchor, 3-speed, or you don't have an ACOG. You're SOL. And to me, that is extremely limiting, and I resent it. I think that's the wrong way to go about balancing your game. There are 3 things you can do with ACOG to balance it out. Okay, 3. Hang on a second. There's way number 1. Remove every single ACOG in the game. Every single ACOG. Make it a non-factor. Way number 2. Make ACOG accessible to every single gun. Also making it a non-factor. In a sense, in that it would be universally available. And when I say every single gun, by the way, I of course mean primaries. Shotguns included. Why not? I mean, it's an ACOG. It's not going to change. But anyway, those are your 2 first possibilities. The third is you balance the fucking ACOG. Okay? You put it in a position whereby you don't think it needs to be utilized to balance operators. So, like, they're removing the ACOG, or they're possibly removing the ACOG from Bandit and Jaeger, right? Because they think it would balance it out. They would change the game style of those 2 operators, and they're correct. It would change the game style. But the correct way to do that is just to adapt ACOG. If you want to change the game style, then fucking change ACOG. Like, I think limiting people is just the wrong way to go about balancing your game. It's just fucking, it is fundamentally to me wrong, because ACOG, and if it's by itself, it's its own game style. It's its own way of playing the game, right? It's totally separate from all the other scopes. And I agree, sometimes people say ACOG is inherently superior to all the other scopes. I agree with that sentiment, but I think it's just because it's a separate way of playing the game. And again, you're disabling that way of playing the game now for defensive players who want to be somewhat mobile or completely mobile, as opposed to, like, you know, not being at all with the 3 armors. You know, you're disabling that game style. You're basically killing it dead if they were to do this. with that balance decision.
Okay.
And I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Devil's advocate, and to all you Jaeger Bandit mains, don't hate on me. I'm just want to, for purposes of conversation. So let's say that if they did this, and they did it for the sole reason of spawn peeking, which I think would be incredibly dumb, because spawn peeking isn't an issue at the higher levels.
No, spawn peeking is a non-issue. It's quote unquote fake fucking news. It's something that people make up because they're bitches, basically. If you complain about spawn peeking, you are a bitch. Hate me if you want.
Okay,
that's the truth.
Okay, so let's say that's why that's why they're looking at this. Okay, well, the idea I guess would be that Bandit has a great gadget. So even if Bandit doesn't have an ACOG, Bandit is still going to be picked a lot. Jaeger has a great gadget. Even if Jaeger doesn't have an ACOG, he's still going to be picked a good bit.
Here's the thing. Like, when it comes to the individual operators, I don't really care. Like, listen, the individual operators aren't the issue. The issue to me is that you're limiting ACOGs to the 3 speeds. You could take the ACOGs from Bandit and Jaeger and give them to like Mute and Valkyrie, and I wouldn't give a shit, because then there's still more options than playing a 3 armor. I think limiting people to 3 armors is just pretty terrible. I think that's the inherent issue. I don't think Bandit and Jaeger, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I think the problem is the way they're balancing their game. I mean, okay. Now listen, on the note of ACOG versus other scopes balance, I think that some people say ACOG is OP, some people say it's preference, right? To me, what ACOG is, as opposed to the other scopes, is ACOG excels at tight angles and long ranges. And when I say long ranges, I mean not like right next to you, right? So not directly fucking next to you. That's where ACOG excels, right? That's what it's better at. It's a magnification scope, of course, so that would make sense. Whereas every other scope excels at the wider angles, challenging out in the open, and close engagements. Now, when I say close engagements, I mean like real fucking close. I mean like within arm's reach, and maybe like 5 meters away at the most, right? That's where it's getting the advantage. At least
in the same room.
Same room. Very close to you. Yeah. Now, where the meta is right now, 90% of the game is the situation where ACOG excels. 90%. That means that 10% of the game, the other scopes are going to have the advantage. And inherently, just based upon that very simple statistic, fucking ACOG has the advantage. It is the superior scope. Now, what I would like to see from that is instead of just taking it off Bandit Jager, is just balance the fucking ACOG. Change the ACOG. Make it into something different.
Okay.
Because right now, I mean, like, I wouldn't mind. Personally, me, I wouldn't mind if they removed all ACOGs. Or if they made ACOG universally available. Either one of those is fine by me. But
that's interesting.
Scattering it, to me, seems fucking wrong. Like, it's just limited. Because now, if you're an ACOG player, you have to play a 3 armor on defense. If of course, again, this is all theoretical based upon if they were to actually do this. Like, I just think it's just wrong balancing. It's just bad balancing. They're killing an entire game style, man. It's just not right.
There's no doubt that just this rumor alone has, people feel very strongly on both sides of it, and
of course, yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. That's why I'm always interested to see new operators, is because it's kind of a peek behind the curtain. How are they trying to craft the meta of this game? What do they like? What do they not like? And I think there's definitely been a sign that they want the game to be a little bit slower paced and a little bit more centered around the objective. I think
if they do it more slower, if they wanted to be more slower paced, like, then I wouldn't. I mean, I get removing ACOGs from Bandit and Jaeger to try and slow it down, I guess, but inherently ACOG is the slower scope overall, so that doesn't really tie in.
That's true. That's true. It is. Yeah.
Plus, remember the whole discussion about the barbed wire nerf? Like, that's going to speed the game up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the game is really fast paced right now. But yeah, no, everything they've been showing me in their balance decisions seems to me like they want to speed it up, if anything.
Well, do you think that, I mean, it's true to say right now that the game, the current meta leans pro defense. The defense wins more rounds than offense. That's correct, isn't
Uh,
it?
I mean, I don't actually have the stats in
Okay.
front of
I
me,
thought that was the case.
but
Maybe
I
it,
wouldn't inherently say either side has the advantage right now.
okay.
They are very. I know that the developers are very, very much pushing towards having both sides be completely balanced, so about 50% win rate. That's one of their main focuses. Um, they also want every operator to be an option, right? So
Sure.
like when you were talking earlier about how if Bandit and Jager lose their ACOGs, they'd still be played. You're absolutely right. I think that's a calculated decision they made. Is like, okay, if they lose these ACOGs, then people will still play them. Absolutely. And I think that one of the reasons that they probably would do something like this is if you looked at the operator selection stats for the last season, like for this season we just watched, you will notice that throughout every single pro league, Latin American, North American, European, same exact top 5 defenders
Yeah.
across the top, like same exact, identical. I think that if they were to do this, we would be in an attempt to try and disrupt that somewhat and kind of throw things into whack. And because, on the attacker side, where ACOGs are much more accessible, there's a variety of operators picked. And by the way, that just plays into giving ACOGs to fucking everyone. Just remove them all or just hand them out like candy. Either one. I don't care. I don't care. Either of those games would be interesting to me. Either fucking one, okay? But pick. Or balance the ACOG to make it more in line with the other scopes. I don't fucking give a shit. Just balance your game on the platform of the scopes instead of gimping particular operators and instead in this particular case, whole play styles.
Well, I honestly, I have no idea how to segue from that, but that's awesome that you obviously feel very strongly about it, and it's really interesting to hear
I
your
feel
thoughts.
strongly about it either way. I just
Yeah.
want an absolute solution. I
Sure.
don't want like this half-assed let's tinker shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me because then they're gonna realize, or well, they won't realize anything. People will bitch and moan about it. Like me, I'll bitch and moan about it, and nothing will ever come of it, right? And life will move on, and we'll just learn to deal with it. But all these little things they add on top of each other, and it makes for one great fuck you, basically.
Well, I think one thing here that a lot of people that I want to get to that I think a lot of people are wondering right now is what's in the future for KiXSTAR. You mentioned in your 90,000 subscriber video on YouTube that you're for sure you're going to be casting through November.
Right.
You've expressed interest in going back to being a player in Pro League. So what's in your future?
Well, like you said, I'm definitely be casting to the end of this year. And then after that, to be honest, I'll probably just keep casting. I don't know. Anything can change. We've got Gamescom and then a whole nother season and then another final in Brazil. And then after that, my contract's up for this year. And then I will have time to think about what I want to do. But in that in that period, there's so much I could think about. I don't know if I want to, the list of teams that I would want to join in the Pro League is like 2, and I'm not going to tell you which, but it's like 2, right?
Okay.
And I've talked with both of them, and there's possibilities, sure, but it's still a big question mark. And then when it comes to the casting, I mean, there's nothing really inherently wrong with it. It's somewhat fun sometimes. It really depends, but I'm probably just going to keep doing it, to be real with you, man. I'm probably just going to keep doing it.
Well,
I don't know. We'll see.
So
many things can change.
Yeah, clearly, yeah, I mean, that's for sure. But I'd imagine if you're a pro and you can compete at that level, it has to be very difficult to not put yourself out there and not actually participate and play.
The worst part is that you're just not learning, man. You're not learning constantly like you used to. I still learn things, don't get me wrong. I always improve myself. It's the over never-ending process, but it's not at 5 times speed anymore. when you're playing at the razor's edge with the best team in your region against, like just fucking going at it nonstop every day, you learn so fast. It's the main reason I always tell people, join a fucking team. Join a team. Join a team. Join a team. Because playing on a team is the best way to get better at the game. Just any team. Doesn't even have to be the best. Eventually you want to be there, of course, but any team. As long as they practice.
Well, I think to hear you say that, at least at this point, that you're leaning towards casting, that makes me happy. And I'll tell you why. And I think that I speak for a lot of fans whenever I say this. We think that you do an outstanding job. We really enjoy the production that both you and Bloodbath put on with Pro League. And I think that Pro League and that production is the key to this game taking the next step and continuing to grow. If we can get the casual players right now that are trying this game out, which there are a lot of them, this game is huge right now. If we can get them interested in Pro League, then I think that we have a chance of keeping them for the next 5, 6, 7 years. And
the thing is, the game's not balanced for esports, man. It's just not. Like, look at it. It's not. It has an esports scene, and it is so much fun, by the way. Like, playing this game competitively, if I may say so, before I get into any of this other nonsense, playing this game competitively is the only way to play this game. And once you get a taste of it, anything else doesn't even come close. I know a lot of pro players who don't even play this game outside of scrims, practice, or actual matches because ranked is tedium comparatively. Anyway, that aside, this game is not balanced for fucking competition, and it doesn't incentivize your average player to go out and seek out competition. If it were, I mean, like other games, Counter-Strike, right? Counter-Strike is centered around nothing but competition. Like, the entire focus is on competition. It is balanced off what the top tier players have said, and Siege just isn't. Siege just clearly isn't. Well, but again, it's the only way to play it. It's funny. It's a weird conundrum.
How long has Counter-Strike been out?
Oh, fucking forever, man. Yeah, of course. But we're not going into that topic. We're not going to start the conversation with Counter-Strike versus Rainbow, okay? That's just not happening.
Well, okay, let me just say this. Is it possible, or are you seeing things right now that we're heading in that, not necessarily that direction, but we are heading in a direction of a more competitive balance, or are we going backwards?
Well, they seem keener on actually, definitely, 100%. You're right. We are technically, okay, so this is really complicated. We are technically going forward in terms of competitive set, like where, like the game balance, right, for competitiveness. It is going the right direction, but the game was at its peak of competitive play right before Blackbeard was added.
Okay. Well, that's not, I mean, okay. All right. That's fair.
Shields were useless, and nobody played them. And it all came down to gunfights that were completely fair. And it was just, oh, God, it was so much better.
Well,
like just overall.
I mean, that's, we're not light years away from that. I mean, that's a couple easy rule changes or fixes.
They're never gonna, and I know this seems like fixating on one issue, but something like Blackbeard, they are never going to change him to the point at which he's balanced. He's always going to be a black mark in the competitive scene. He is always going to be a ginormous flaw that will turn away so many people curious in competition. Like, a lot of it, he's an active deterrent in competitively minded players. Like, I actually talk to a lot of my friends outside of Siege who don't play Siege, who are like really high level players in Counter-Strike, for example, right? Like S rank Counter-Strike players, and I asked them what their thoughts on Rainbow are, and a lot of it does come down to, like, there's like, oh well, there's this, it feels kind of like there's peeker's advantage, and I don't really like, certain things like barbed wire and certain gadgets are limiting, and so yeah, those are okay. So some of the complaints are founded, some of them aren't, but almost all of them come back to shields, all shields, not just Blackbeard, all shields, and it's like, it's this conversation of, I can't kill him directly, and he could kill me directly. talking about Blackbeard for a second.
Right.
And that really irks me because, it's just not fair. And that's absolutely right. It's not fair. A good Blackbeard player will put himself in the main rotation lane on an angle, which normally, if an attacker is holding that angle, he'll just be challenged and he'll lose probably because it's a common angle. But because he's playing Blackbeard, anyone who challenges him loses. So no one can challenge him. Therefore, no one can use that angle. So, let's say it's the main rotation lane for a bomb site. Then that rotation is completely cut off. It's inaccessible. Then the game is limited so very much for the defenders, and it's in the wrong way. I know a lot of you are saying that's just an element of gameplay. No, it's wrong. It's just fundamentally flawed. The game was better off without him. And like I said at the beginning, he's not going to be changed in any way that will fix him and make him not a black mark in our game. And I just want to just cut off sorry, go ahead and ask your question.
Well, I think just you may laugh at this because you've been around it so long, but I still think that even if you were to get into Pro League today, you're still getting in at the ground floor of this game and its potential. Because one thing that sticks out to me, they're opening up Asia. That's going to be a region. What is it in season 4? I want to say.
I cannot. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think I've seen that, and that's fair if you don't want to talk about it.
I'm not gonna get into it because I don't know what I can and can't say.
Sure. I understand that, but I think that if that is the case, that's a sleeping giant, and it can. 3 or 4 years down the road, it could be, that we're looking at this like, man, you remember back whenever you used to be allowed to play Blackbeard, and the game could be completely different at that point.
Did you say allowed to play Blackbeard?
Yes.
You mean like in the sense of limiting him as ESL says no Blackbeard?
Yeah, absolutely. What if
never gonna happen?
Just
never gonna happen. They are very, very particular about their game being balanced in a way that they don't need to limit any factor of it. So they're never going to be like, you can't play this operator, you can't play that operator, you can't play him, you can't play him. That's never going to happen.
That's interesting.
I mean, of course, don't take that as a confirmation. But from my experience, from what I know, never going to fucking happen. Well, Ubisoft wants their whole game represented.
And I understand that. I do. But at the same time, it's a common trend. Obviously, on the show, I have the privilege of talking to a lot of pros and yourself, and everybody feels the same. I mean, it's not like it's you got half the people on one side, half the people on the other. It's
all the professional players who know what the fuck they're talking about think the same, right? But there are plenty of people on Reddit, for example, and I'm not behind the whole blame Reddit movement. Like, Reddit's accountable for a lot of stupid shit that's happened to the game. Sure, maybe, but that's beside the point. They weren't the ones who forced the hand.
Right.
Ubisoft ultimately makes the changes they make, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not really behind the whole blame Reddit thing, but Reddit is often misguided, and 9 times out of 10 doesn't know what the hell they're talking about because most of them haven't played at the highest level of Siege. Because, as I said again, Siege does not incentivize you to go out and seek out that highest level of play, and that's again, it's not their fault. It's just it's just not pointing you in the right direction. The game's not saying, hey, go over there. Whereas a game like Counter-Strike, yes, it's been around forever. But a game like Counter-Strike is, the only way to go in Counter-Strike is that way. You go that way. That's how you play this game. You can play it for fun, but it's boring if you play it just for the levels. Like, what's the point? It's a completely competitively focused game. And then you have Siege over here. There's plenty of things you can do in it for just for the levels, just to have fun, And for the people who play at that level, which is, say, 80%, Blackbeard doesn't really seem overpowered because, to those people, he doesn't block a lot of damage, right? And
well, yeah, I think you're just not. The difference between dying and staying alive at that level isn't splitting hairs, whereas in Pro League it is, and so so it is. It's completely different, and I've gone through that during my progression as a player. I honestly have, but so I'm relieved to hear that you're at least contemplating staying as a caster, and I know it must be difficult, but on behalf of myself and all the fans out there, man, we love what you and Bloodbath are doing, and we love watching you guys, and we really appreciate the production that you put on. Now, with that said, where can the average person find you? I know that you stream a lot on Twitch. You have a YouTube channel, and I will link both of those down below. Anything else that you want to shout out here?
I look at my Twitter at KiXSTAR TV.
Okay. All right. So,
Nothing else really.
the one thing I want to say to the people, because I've watched a lot of your streams and you're very interactive. The good thing about watching a
I try
diamond
to be.
stream is that there's a lot of downtime in between matches, and you're always talking to the chat. You're giving a lot of good tips. So for you guys who want to get inside KiXSTAR's mind, check out his streams. And again, that his Twitch will be linked down in the description. So anything else you want to say here, KiXSTAR?
Yeah, for those of you who have made it to the end, thanks for listening through the whole thing. Now, I know a lot, I seemed very aggressive on my points. It's because most of these things I get asked on a regular basis, like every day. And there seems to be a lot of misguided opinions about these things based upon lack of experience. And I hope that you can take everything I say with a bit of a pinch of salt. Go out, play the game, try to advance yourself, and then build your own opinions on them. Because what I say is based on my experience, and that's something important to remember.
Well, I think what's very clear is that you have a passion for this, and that's not a bad thing. And I think that if other players put in the time to develop the passion for this game, then they will see exactly where you're coming from. And I think if you're the type of person who sat through this entire thing, you're well on your way to having that passion. And I think that you probably agreed with a lot of these points.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Well, with that said, thanks a lot again, KiXSTAR. Really appreciate it. Can't wait for Gamescom and the finals here. And we're going to sign off here. So with that said, we'll see you guys later.
Peace out.